I am so thrilled and honored to have this opportunity to get to come speak with you here today. I have to tell you that this is an absolute thrill to be on stage with so many incredible women, but I have to say, when I first got into doing this research, when I first went off to college to start collecting debts, my father was buoyed by the idea that someday I might come back and I might be a doctor or a lawyer or a banker, something he thought would make a lot of sense. And when I came home from college and told him, "Dad, I want to study the science of happiness," he sat me down. My father is a neuroscientist, and he told me that the average scientific paper is only read on average by 7 people total, which is incredibly depressing for a researcher to hear because I know that that statistic also includes my mom. So now we're down to 6 people who read these studies, which is a travesty because we've literally been learning things that transform what it means to be human. I'm so excited to get to share this research with you here today. I was so grateful for that kind introduction because when I first got into doing this research back in 2007, bringing this outside of the laboratory out into the messiness of life, my very first talk, which was at a large Swiss bank in the middle of the banking crisis, and they had a senior leader stand up to introduce me, and he said, "Well, we don't have bonuses for everyone, but here's a talk on happiness from a guy from America." So you can imagine the cold response, but within 10 minutes, as soon as we started talking about the research that showed that we could actually move people forward even when life is not perfect, even when we're dealing with large amounts of uncertainty and confusion, that we could actually start to be able to choose mindset that could actually move us forward and be adaptive. Since then, I've worked now in 51 countries across the globe, worked with half of the Fortune 100 companies, and when I go in to talk to them, the conversation has completely changed. I actually gave a talk at the Pentagon a few months ago, and they took me into the basement of the Pentagon and into these maze of hallways. They took my cell phone and put it in a lead-shielded safe in case I tried anything during a happiness talk. And I came into a room full of stone-faced soldiers, and I did the bravest thing I think I've ever done. If you see my TED Talk, I started with the unicorn story at the Pentagon, and no laughter at all from them. And afterwards, somebody came up to me, and he stared at me, and he said, 5 years ago, we could not have had a talk on happiness at the Pentagon. Something's changed. The conversation's changing. We now know we need to start talking about happiness and optimism in order to make us more resilient and more adaptive in the face of what we're dealing with in our society. What we're seeing is incredible, but as soon as people start talking about happiness, most people get the wrong idea. They immediately start thinking about pleasure, which means I'm supposed to be smiling all the time I'm at work, or I'm supposed to have a smile on my face regardless of what's going on in the political or economic landscape right now. Last year, I was invited. That's not what I want to talk about here today. I got started back at the Divinity School before getting into psychology.